South Africa, and a very warm welcome to you. I'm Jeannie D.
And I'm Bonnie Booley. Welcome to Afternoon Express. Today's show is family focused. We'll be talking babies and pregnancy and everything you need to know about it. We'll be chatting to Megan Faure, who is the co-author of Baby Sense, which is a baby Bible. Actually, I used it when I was pregnant, and it's absolutely amazing. It's South Africa's best loved baby care book.
As if I couldn't get broody anymore. So today we're also going to be chatting about something very serious as well, and something that in fact affects almost 1 in 3 women across the world who give birth, and that is postnatal depression. It's actually a very serious conversation.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was made famous, I think, when Brooke Shields suffered from it and then came out speaking about it. So it's an amazing conversation today. And in fact, we're going to be chatting to an amazing psychologist a little bit later, Linda Lewis, about postnatal depression.
And what we absolutely love about being live is that we can take your questions and you can call in and ask our guest questions. Hit us up at hashtag Afternoon Express, at Afternoon Chat on Twitter, and Afternoon Express on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, and speaking about babies, we also have an overgrown child in the kitchen today cooking us dinner.
Good afternoon, South Africa. It's so good to be back with you right here on Afternoon Express. I hope you're having a lovely afternoon so far. So something that isn't child's play is making sure that all mothers who are getting prepared for bringing new life into the world knows about the diet, particularly for their child as well as for them while they're in the pregnancy phase. So our chef today in our loft today, which I'm very excited to have, and she's a really cool dietitian. We've got Rochez O'Grady joining us in the loft, and it's very cool to have you because a lot of mothers struggle with this thing of when you're pregnant with a baby, you're so hungry all the time, you want to eat for 2, and that might not be so healthy. So you're going to give us some cool tips and tricks on how to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me here
Awesome.
today. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm excited
so
to
what
share.
are we making specifically?
Today we're going to be making a lentil chickpea butternut and feta salad.
Ooh.
So it includes a whole lot of different essential food groups that an expectant mother will need, and it's very easy to make. You know, so it's like quick, easy, all the nutrients you have. So it's perfect.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And it looks so delicious too. I'm already wanting to nibble on the little parts that she's going to put together later on. If you want to get this recipe and the shopping list, you can go to our website, afternoonexpress.co.za, and you can cook along with us right here on Afternoon Express. We'll also be chatting to her later on about all those questions you might have about what to eat, what not to eat, and how to get your baby to eat solid food once they're already out of the womb and ready to start walking. So it's time for us to kick the show off. Jeannie and Bonnie are on the couch.
You can see Danilo's not a dad, out of the womb and ready to start walking. Doesn't happen like that, Dee. Now, translated into 6 languages and in its 18th print run, the award-winning book Baby Sense has become South Africa's best-loved baby care book. Drawing on the expertise of occupational therapist Megan Faure and nurse and midwife Anne Richardson, Baby Sense provides a clear view of a baby's sensory development, emotional engagement, and practical issues of the first year of life. Here to share some wisdom, we have Megan Faure herself in the loft. Welcome.
Hi, nice to be here. Megan, I absolutely love Baby Sense. It was my Bible after I had my baby. It actually even had dog's ears, and I passed it on to somebody else who was pregnant. But you totally revolutionized the way we looked at raising our children and being mindful of their sensory environment. How did that approach come to you?
I'm an occupational therapist, so my first love is the baby's brain and how it develops. And so, having specialized in sensory integration, I took that information from my practice, and when I had my first child, started to apply it to my child. And I'd often say to my husband, no, don't do that. You're overstimulating him, or it's time for downtime because he needs to sleep, because he needs to recharge his sensory load. And one day my husband said to me, you know what, you've got to write this down, because if you know this stuff about the baby's sensory world and haven't shared it, it won't be right. So that's how Baby Sense came about.
And it's such a fascinating, thing, the gift of life. I've got a new 12-week-old godchild. She's the cutest thing ever, but it's the most amazing thing watching them grow. Like now she's only just, you can see that can see us, like she's just connecting with us in our eyes, and it's such an amazing thing. But how do you know what to do as a mother, and when do you know when is right?
No, you don't know what to do, and you're completely terrified.
Until you read Baby Sense.
Well, I don't know. Even then, I think you're still terrified. It is really the most scary experience for many moms because we come into motherhood having done our life very successfully. And now suddenly we landed with a baby that we actually don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to feed, when to put to sleep. And so it creates a lot of anxiety for new mums. And so you almost do need a manual, but at the same time, a baby doesn't come with a manual, and every baby's different. So with Baby Sense, we had to get that balance of kind of generalizing it for many babies, but making it very specific to a woman's own baby.
You speak a lot about the calm, alert state that we all love our babies to be in. How does one actually achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, our babies go through different states in the day. Sometimes they're asleep and sometimes they're awake. But one of the magic states that, Bonnie, you're talking about is that state when they are focused, they're making brain connections, their body is still while they're learning, and it's a very special state. And the way that you create that state is by not overstimulating your child, because when they are overstimulated, they can't take anything in because they're feeling anxious and it's just too much. Yeah. You also have to have regular sleep times, and so sleep routine becomes very important, because an overtired toddler, I mean, we've all seen a toddler climbing the walls, an overtired toddler's not learning from their world, they're not engaging properly, because they're not in the calm alert state.
Yeah. How do we get most adults to be in the calm alert state?
I mean, sleep is obviously a big deal in the first year, and even other years to come if you don't get it right in the first year.
Okay, but how do you get a baby to sleep?
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, and it's especially hard for mums, because sleep deprivation is the worst form of torture, and in that state of complete sleep deprivation, we mother our babies in the early days. So, I mean, a couple of things for the mums is definitely to watch their baby's awake time. How long is a baby awake will determine when they should go to sleep, and so that's how you can actually set up a day routine. And if you catch it right, you'll actually be able to settle your baby quite easily. I would say that's the number one secret that mums can take from baby sense, is at awake times. And then also watching the baby's signals, because babies give us quite clear signals when we get to know it. I mean, the little babies might rub their eyes or pull at their ears. The toddlers might start to pick their nose. So they're all giving you all these signals that I'm actually overtired and I need some downtime. So that's how you establish good sleep habits.
Now, let's discuss crying, because is it true that babies have different cries for different things? And then how do you stop a baby from crying? I know when I'm holding my goddaughter, her mother goes, "Oh, 5S her." And I'm like,
okay, so we know which book she's reading.
Yes, the 5 S's. Jeannie's very well versed in the 5 S's.
I'm a fairy godmother.
Sounds like it. Yeah, so, I mean, crying's a massive one, because also it's the baby's first language. And actually, you know, I don't know that I believe that babies have different cries for different things. I think the mother gets to know her baby's cry along the way. But in the early days, every cry sounds the same. So you don't know if they're tired or hungry or overstimulated.
And every baby's cry sounds like yours.
Yes, absolutely. And I've stood in Pick and Pay rocking my trolley when somebody else's baby's crying.
Sweet.
So, yeah, crying brings it out in us. But yes, the 5 S's, that's how VCARPs work. And we talk about the 7 S's. And they are shushing, swaddling, a sling, soothing sounds like white noise. And these are all wonderful strategies for when a baby is colicky and crying, because if you've missed the awake time and you've got an overtired, fractious baby, you want to reenact that womb world. And so we look at the womb as the ideal environment for a baby, and we say, let's recreate that afterwards. So swaddling is tight and containing and nurturing the baby, and so in that way it inhibits the cries.
Recreating the womb.
Completely. And that's
but what happens when the baby's too big for that and still crying?
The womb world actually still works very well for older kids as well. I mean, white noise is something that can help them settle.
Men?
I don't know about that. Leave him on his own.
Now, colic can be a big issue, and it can be a nightmare for moms who have
what
colic
is
babies.
colic?
Now, colic's really interesting because it's actually a misnomer. What colic actually means is abdominal discomfort. And when you've got a baby who's crying a lot, the way that they pull up their legs and go red in their face, you think they must have a sore tummy. There must be something, there must be pain. But in actual fact, colic has more to do with what's going on in the brain than it has to do with what's going on in the tummy. Because the baby becomes overstimulated towards the end of the day, like at 5 o'clock, which we call witching hour or horror hour. And they start to niggle, and then all the stimulation that goes on in the environment then, like dad coming home, having a bath, having a feed, completely overwhelms them, and before long they start to cry, and colic can last for up to 3 hours.
I get colic.
Wow.
We do actually, you know, I mean, it's true. As adults, what we do, and particularly before we have kids, is we'll go for a jog, we'll have sundowners, we'll watch soap operas, whatever it is. And that's our time of day where we kind of just defrag. The problem is when you've got a baby, you can't do those things. So.
That's true.
Thank you so much for chatting to us, but we've got so many more questions to ask you because you're preparing me to be a mother. Today we are giving away copies of Baby Sense by Megan Faure and Anne Richardson. All you have to do is SMS the keyword books, your name and city, to 33728 to stand a chance. SMSs cost R1.50 each, T's and C's apply, and are available on afternoonexpress.co.za.
After the break, we're chatting to dietitian Rochez O'Grady about proper nutrition for babies, and she'll be showing us how to make her healthy lentil, chickpea and feta salad, my favorite. We'll be right back.
Experience the world in a way less limited. Apply today at dinersclub.co.za.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, I have got a whole bunch of my friends who are getting married this year, and I think one of the things I'm most looking forward to about the whole marriage thing is all about starting a new family and starting a new life, and one of that involves having kids. So I'm hoping to be a great husband, but something to remember is that healthy nutrition for both expectant mom and baby is key to a healthy pregnancy and a happy child. So to give us some healthy eating tips during the special time and thereafter is Rochez O'Grady. She's a dietitian and founder of the practice Munchwise. So cool to have you in our loft with us today, because I'm sure lots of mothers have got their pens and papers out, sitting like this. What am I allowed to have? What am I not allowed to have? And I think children are such a blessing to people's lives. And like we heard in the interview before the ad break, a lot of mothers don't necessarily know what to do. What are some of the things to definitely avoid when pregnant and trying to look after your baby's health?
Yeah, you're so right about people perhaps not knowing the right thing. So, things to avoid, I actually prefer looking at things to include, because it's always quite tough. Everyone's like, you're not allowed to have this, or you're not allowed to have that. So the most important thing is you actually have an increased micronutrient requirements. So your main micronutrients that you need are your iron, your folate, your calcium, and your vitamin D. Okay. So more importantly is you actually have to start eating more vegetables and salad. Okay, because otherwise you're not going to meet those requirements. Okay, as well as looking for special vitamin and mineral supplements as well that can help with your diet. And then the second thing is to make sure you're drinking enough water. Okay, that sounds silly, but because you're going to be having more water in your body because you become pregnant, you actually have increased requirements.
Well, that amniotic fluid has to come from somewhere, so I'm assuming it's all from the water.
Okay, so that's the most important thing. And then things to avoid or to watch out for in terms of drinks would be your sugary drinks, caffeine, okay.
Just to avoid it?
Yeah, not to avoid, but not to have too much. So they actually say about 2 cups a day, not to have more than that. And then, of course, alcohol, okay, number one. And things like particularly with your fish and your meats, to make sure they're cooked properly, okay, because there's a bacteria in there that can be harmful to your baby.
Yeah,
so those things mainly.
And those are all very helpful tips, and I think it's something that I think all mothers, in some way or form, have learned from their mothers, etc. And the basics like no alcohol, no smoking, or that's to reduce all the toxins like caffeine, etc. And I like the fact that you mentioned the increase of vegetables and taking a vitamin supplement. Those are really important things. But a lot of mothers also feel like when there's an extra person, I must eat for 2. How do we avoid putting on extra weight that we don't necessarily need to put on, but at the same time make sure we're not starving our poor child?
Exactly. So those are 2 very important things, is not to have excess and not to have too little, okay, because they can both create complications. So if you have too much, it can create it would create cardiovascular disease and diabetes, so it would increase your child's risk of getting those. And if you have too little, your child can be born at a too low birth weight.
You're making all mothers panic. Okay, so how do we find enough?
So that myth, eating for 2, is really outdated and totally unnecessary. Okay, so when the increased requirements come in after your first 2 months of being pregnant, so the last about the 6 months at your 2nd and 3rd trimester, and the increased amount is not that much. It's about 200 calories, which equates to something like a fruit and a piece of yogurt.
Yeah, sure.
So it's only an extra snack that you're needing. So it's more about the quality, not quantity of food. And if you are craving things, it's just rather have more vegetables and salad to avoid putting on excess weight.
I see.
Okay, and eating small regular meals.
Yeah.
That's
I'm taking
important.
all down these notes because my wife has got to be looked after while that kid is in the womb. Has to. But another thing that happens is once obviously the baby's born, the husband technically has no control, because what happens with breastfeeding, and it's such an important part, a lot of mothers maybe aren't able to breastfeed or express themselves. So what happens then, and how often should we make sure that we are breastfeeding if we are capable of it?
Yeah, that's, I mean, when we studied to be dietitians, that was the most important thing. So to exclusively breastfeed for mothers is so important. So if, for example, there's a problem in the way, if they're not latching correctly, or if there's some hindrance or obstacle that may, prevent them from breastfeeding, first to assess it on an individual basis. So go and check, go to a support group. There's lots of support groups for breastfeeding moms. Go to a physician, go to someone that can help you and find out what's stopping you before immediately going onto formula milk. That's really, really important.
Okay, so do it yourself to every extent that you can before you move on to all the supplements.
Exactly.
And obviously that's a very big and important process, because first of all it's bonding with the mother, etc., and all the nutrients that are in natural occurring milk is so much more powerful than all the other stuff. But what about trying to ease our children off things like liquids and moving them onto the sort of solids? How do we get that process started?
Yeah, so usually when you start weaning from breast milk onto your solid foods, it's when the requirements of your baby can no longer be met by the nutrition composition of the breast milk.
How do we know?
So they recommended an age. Okay, so it's from 4 to 6 months old. Okay, that's when the requirements increase, particularly for things like iron. Okay, and then you start introducing solid foods slowly. So you'd start with something like a fortified cereal, something that has an iron-rich cereal, and then you'd start from about 6 months old. You'd start introducing things like vegetables, and it would be pureed or mashed, right?
Okay.
Vegetables and fruit, and then later on you'd do your protein. Okay, so important things to remember, small amounts. Your baby's tummy is very, very small. Small amounts and often, okay? And then also one food group at a time, so you can see if the baby's actually tolerating that food.
Awesome. Sure, this is so helpful. I'm sure lots of people are wanting to take notes, and I think the best thing about being on Afternoon Express is that we get to sometimes also help you with those recipes too. So
Yes,
as much as this
definitely.
isn't the recipe for the mothers, for the children, it's going to be a recipe for the mother
Yes.
while she's potentially pregnant.
Okay.
And so we're going to be making something so delicious. It's a salad that is healthy for you, and it's got all those different micro ingredients and
Yes,
stuff in it with
exactly.
it too. So how do we get started with this recipe?
Okay, well, the first thing, it's the lentil, so it's got a lot of great things in it. Lentil, chickpeas, butternuts, feta cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers. So those have all, they're all rich in your iron, your folate. Proteins,
Sodiums.
Yes, exactly, all those things. Okay, so let's get started. So you'd first, you'd rinse your chickpeas, your lentils, which I've already done, and then you'd throw them into the pot. Okay, and we'd get that cooking. So you
Is that part on for yes, it is on already.
It
Look
is
at
on.
that, magic.
Yeah.
It's one of those kitchens, you see, I can just and it starts to boil.
Okay, so you get that cooking. It cooks for quite a long time, about 20 or 30 minutes. But if you don't have the time to do that, you can actually buy the tinned lentils.
Okay.
And you just give that a good rinse. Then the next thing we've got to get going is the butternut. Okay, so they look pretty chopped already.
They're like a nice little size.
Yeah,
should I
so
just
we'd put them
those
on
into
the
bowl?
tray. Yeah, let's pop them on the tray. I don't know if that's going to be very easy, but let
Probably.
me move things
Let me do
around.
the lazy thing, because I'm lazy and I can just pick that up and do it myself. Cool.
There we go.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And those I'm guessing we're going to roast.
Yes, so we roast the butternuts. So you can pour drizzle a little bit of olive oil over. Okay, and then some salt.
Drizzle some olive oil on.
There we go, a little bit of salt for some flavor. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. And then we pop that into the oven, and we're going to roast that.
Okay.
And then we get chopping, right?
Yes, I can help with that. That I can do.
Okay, cool.
That's a man's
so
job.
am I going to give you the...
Yes, give me the sharp
deadly
knife. It's
weapon.
like the
Okay.
Okay,
cool. So we're going to chop. We're going to get going. Chop with the cucumbers.
Sure. How do you want this
Okay.
chopped? Is this going to be cut in sort of like little...
Yeah, so finely cubed.
Please show me how to do that. Sorry,
really?
Because I've always wanted to learn how to cube a cucumber because it's round and it irritates me.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know. I'm not a master chef. But
Better than me.
I'd
Okay, so
probably just do it like...
into little segments like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Just
And
a half,
then
and then
It's
into
getting all
like
sticky on this knife.
quarters.
Yeah, but like that, and then I'd chop it
Oh, amazing.
just like that.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure everyone at home knows how to chop up stuff. So
Yeah.
can we show them? So we basically have to chop up our
Exactly.
tomatoes into the same sort of
Yes.
cubey size.
Tomatoes into cubes, and then your feta cheese as well.
Okay.
Now, you can either leave your onions raw, or you could saute them with some garlic. It depends what you prefer. And then, you've got some olives here, some sunflower seeds, and then you're pretty much going to
Chuck it all
chuck
together.
it all together.
Amazing.
And then we're going to make a nice dressing with some lemons.
Please show us how to do that dressing, because I mean, we'll show you guys all how to combine this later on in the show, and there'll be a part of us to show you how to put all the little different ingredients in the
Okay,
salad
we
in
need
there.
a bowl.
But just show you how to make that.
Okay, well, I'm going to just use this big bowl.
Sure.
Oh, there's
So you're going to
lemons are a bit
squeeze.
hard.
They're intense, eh?
Yeah. Maybe I need some man strength
Do you
there.
need another one?
Yeah,
Okay, let's
please.
do two for you. Oh, these are
Okay.
interesting. I'm going to pretend like I went to gym today and it was arm day. Sure, you might need to go to have like, you have leg day, arm day.
Yes.
You need like hand day at the gym for
Here
these
we go.
lemons.
Your half. Okay.
Okay, so you squeeze a bit of lemon juice.
Yeah. So chuck some lemon juice in.
And then what else?
And then I'd mix that olive oil in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So not too much, just about a tablespoon or two. Yeah, that's perfect. And then mix that all up. So pass that spoon over there. There we go.
Why don't you use the thing
Oh,
that's
that's
used
perfect.
for? Yeah, that helps combine. I learned something from Clem in our kitchen today.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then you'd chuck that over for some good flavour.
Sounds so delicious. If you guys want to make this at home, you're welcome to get it from our website, afternoonexpress.co.za. Now, after the break, we'll be putting the finishing touches on this fresh and healthy salad. And we're back on the couch with Megan Faure to chat about the new book she's working on about pregnancy. Don't go anywhere.
Unlock the M collection.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express live on SABC3. Now, Megan Faure, after years of success with her baby sense range, is now adding a new piece to the collection, Pregnancy Sense. So new, in fact, that she hasn't even finished writing it yet. We're back on the couch with Megan Faure.
So, as if having a baby isn't stressful enough, before that, actually, pregnancy and giving birth must be
They're a
so
minefield.
foreign. So, pregnancy sense, an obvious, I think,
Progression,
from baby sense. Why did you decide to write it, though?
I think that we needed a South African book on pregnancy that dealt with having a sensational birth. And so my idea was, let's present birth to moms as something that is sensational, but not ideal. And, you know, the critical thing is that very often people go, right, there's this ideal birth, which maybe for some people might be a caesarean section, for other people it might be a natural, and people have preconceived ideas about it. But actually every woman's sensational birth is her own. And so the idea was that we would empower moms to make decisions with their gynae or midwife in such a way that they felt like they were actually making the decisions. And that's what the book's all about, is empowering moms with the full knowledge given to them, like we did in Baby Sense, at kind of layman's terms, and then being able to actually be empowered and say, right, this is how I'm going to give birth. These are the interventions I want. And that was the idea behind it.
And what has women's reaction to your work been? Because I remember when I was pregnant, I almost needed an answer for everything. If I felt one twitch or one strange feeling, I wanted to look it up and find out what it was.
Yeah, well, pregnancy is so foreign because our body changes in 9 months, like hourly. Every minute there's something new. And you're terrified because you're not sure if those little twinges that are going on in your pelvis are actually signs of labour, or is the baby okay? And what if the baby isn't moving at the moment?
Stress.
So it is stressful. So we're just trying to make it really normalised and not medicalised. You know, there are books out there that are terribly medical, and it really doesn't help anyone, you know, it just makes more anxiety.
It's so important for it to be written, though, so that your everyday person can understand it. But is there such a thing as a sensational pregnancy? I mean, did you have a good pregnancy? Did you enjoy being pregnant?
I loved being pregnant, except obviously in the last month, you just want the baby to come.
Yes.
But I remember I was so settled by the time I had the baby that I wanted a home birth. I wanted it to be natural. I wanted it to be a water birth, and I wanted it to be without painkillers. And I did all of that, and it was a sensational birth. It took 8 hours, but it was breathtaking, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Wow.
But there's such a contention around whether to have a caesarean, whether to have a natural birth, and more women are struggling with that decision. Why is that?
Yeah, look, I mean, what you describe, in my mind, is a sensational birth, but it's not necessarily every woman's ideal. And I think the idea with a birth plan is to have a plan that is very flexible, because a lot of mothering and pregnancy and birth, but a lot of mothering is just accepting what's happening around you. Because if you can have that acceptance about what's happening around you and not be rigid and not try and control it and not have the ultimate say in everything, you're much more likely to be able to have the type of sensational birth that you had. And a birth by caesarean section can also be sensational if you're part of it, if you've made the choice and if you've accepted where you're at.
Yeah, and when women are pregnant, it's obviously important to maintain the womb a stress-free environment. How can women make sure that the baby is stress-free during the pregnancy?
That you've raised one of the most contentious issues that we've had to deal with in the book. There is an enormous amount of research out there that shows that stress can cross the placenta, go to the baby, and cause the baby to become stressed as well. It doesn't help a mother who's stressed, though, to know that, because if she's feeling stressed and she can't escape her stress, it doesn't help her to know that she's not doing the best for her baby. So we deal with that a lot, quite a few times through the book. The one thing that I always say to mums is that you must differentiate stress, which is like a fender bender, you know, somebody who irritates you at work, a mother-in-law who's on your case, from toxic stress. And toxic stress is generally interpersonal, something you cannot escape and something you cannot control. So something like physical and emotional abuse by somebody.
A bad marriage or...
A really bad marriage could constitute toxic stress. And in those circumstances, I do recommend that a mum speaks to a psychologist, that she gets help. And just having somebody who listens to her and who can actually help her through it and support her will really help a lot. But that's what you're trying to avoid.
Okay, but what happens then to a stressed baby? What are the effects, or what is a stressed baby? What does it do? Or...
A certain amount of stress is very good. So that's the first thing we know, that a little bit of stress in pregnancy is a good thing for babies. It helps their brains to become resilient. It helps them to bounce back.
Oh, wow,
so that's good. But when stress becomes toxic, so you cannot escape it, you get neurotransmitters crossing over to the baby that changes the wiring of the brain and the sensitivity to stress later. So when that same child is then presented with a very stressful situation, they might have a hyper response to a stressful situation that another child might be able to kind of gloss over. So that's what we're talking about. But again, we need to be so careful with mums that we're not loading them with more guilt, because there's lots of mums out there who are in stressful situations that they can't escape. And so we've got to be sensitive. We deal with it quite sensitively in the book.
And for first-timers out there who are pregnant for the first time and they're excited and they're at the genesis of their journey, what health tips do you have for them for both their health and baby's health?
First of all, I mean, it was wonderful that we've just spoken about diet. Diet is exceptionally important. You're delivering the micronutrients for the brain's development right the way through pregnancy. In the last trimester, you want lots of lovely fish oils and omega-3s, because that really has been shown to myelinate the brain and cause bright babies. But there's also, very importantly, things that are really toxic to the brain, and alcohol is one of them. We just don't know how much, and that's the problem with the alcohol debate. Is many people will say a glass a day is fine, but in actual fact, for some sensitive brains and vulnerable brains, a glass a day isn't fine.
It's too much.
And so we do say things in the book, and we really enlighten moms on these debates, and then say, look, you're going to make your own choice. But alcohol in pregnancy is toxic, bottom line.
Wow. And what about external stimulation? Like, can a baby hear what's going on? Like, if you were sitting here pregnant and I was speaking to you, would the baby hear my voice or playing music? Are external stimulants affecting the child?
Well, I've got to tell you that a product came out about 3 months ago that is a little thing that gets inserted into the vagina, and it plays music off your iPod. So the
why wasn't that around when I was pregnant? Oh my gosh.
I'm putting that on my baby shower list for one day when I have a baby.
Called?
Where's that music coming from?
It's called a baby pod.
A baby pod.
A baby pod. So it plugs into your iPod or your phone. Anyway, the whole thing is that you actually shouldn't be doing this, because so I'm saying these crazy things are out there. But what actually happens is that the baby can hear, and the baby learns in the last trimester of pregnancy. So by the time the baby's born, he recognises his mum's voice and his dad's voice.
Wow.
The problem with these things that are inserted so close to the baby's ears is that we're not sure exactly how many decibels a baby's ear takes. And in fact, the other thing we know is that in utero, that's the perfect environment for the baby to develop. So inserting things that aren't naturally there for the baby to hear, aside from the possible infection and all sorts of other stuff, is really not a good idea. So yes, babies learn in utero, their brains and senses are taking it all in, but the ultimate sensory environment actually is the womb. So any of the fancy stuff that a mom's trying to do, like playing earphones on the outside, Beethoven, don't do it. Don't do it.
Hip-hop.
We're taking your questions and your comments on Facebook on Afternoon Express, our page, or you can tweet us at Afternoon Express, #Afternoon Express at Afternoon Chat. Back to the kitchen with our salad.
I cannot wait to see what some of those questions come out on Facebook about where I can get my hands on one of those devices. Definitely a talking topic today. I'm pretty sure that is going to be trending all over the country at the moment. But as much as music is really good for your pregnancy, a good diet and nutrition for your baby is too. And so we've got our nutritionist, dietitian or nutritionist? What's it? Dietitian, sorry, because nutritionists are, there's apparently like the different levels of that. So we've been making a salad that's full of those sort of micronutrients. And we've kind of prepped all the ingredients there. We're going to show you how to combine them. But just quickly talk us through what is in these ingredients that is so healthy for us while we're pregnant.
Okay.
Well, you're pregnant, not clearly not me.
Okay, and I think, on the previous segment, just when she spoke about omega-3s, that's really important, because that was also included in here, even though it is, so it's vegetarian-based. We've got some olive oil in here, which has got loads of omega-3s, and your sunflower seeds. So that's great for your brain, your baby's brain development. And then I've included a lot of your dark leafy greens. So those are really rich in your folate as well as your iron, you mentioned earlier. And folate is really to prevent all your the baby's neural tube defects, and that's really important.
You mentioned off-air one of the syndromes that you can get if you don't have enough of these greens in your diet.
Yes.
And what is some of those?
Well, the main neural tube defect you want to avoid is spina or spina bifida, and that's also why you take a supplement.
I see.
So it's not only enough to take to eat lots of these dark green leafy veg, but obviously that's number one port
Supplement
of
the diet
call, but
too,
you
though.
also need to supplement. Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously all your other types of vegetables, varieties, good
Yes.
for you, sodium's good for you, proteins.
And then we've got, a lot of calcium sources as well. And then your fiber, and it's really high in protein, so keeping you fuller for longer, so preventing all sorts of complications.
And why I'm giggling, as well, South Africa, is because this all sounds so complicated and doesn't sound like something that's too interesting, but I promise you it is so delicious too. And that's the most important part about this dish, is that it's got all of these healthy ingredients for your baby, but it is also so delicious and so simple to put together. So let's just do that. Let's put it together.
Yeah, and that's why I love salads, because there's no order. So we can start with the spinach, and we can chuck some. I'm going to take these out.
I love the fact that you're throwing some rocket in here. Rocket is one of my favorites. Very high in iron, and also so delicious, adds a nice pepperiness to any dish.
And so you see all the beautiful colours. So that's also a nice way to think of a salad, is making it a rainbow. So all the different nutrients with all the different colours as well.
I'm just saying that for us to become friends, you're going to have to wean me onto coriander, because I keep having this chat with Clem, and every week there's something new coriander in it, and I'm learning to like it.
Yeah, I think it grows on you.
As long as you tell me that it's good for me, that means then I'll take it, then I'll do it.
That's very good.
Ooh,
okay,
that's
you've got to keep
amazing.
on piling. There's a lot of ingredients here.
Sorry, I'm just going to keep on going. So we've got some olives here, pitted
And we can
olives,
chuck some of these
chickpeas.
too, for
Oh,
flavour.
yum. Sure, this is literally eating for 10. Are we serving, obviously, all of our guests in the loft today, so that's good news.
And then feta cheese.
Looks so
just
amazing.
to top
And
it
this
all
can
off.
keep nicely, because I mean, you're not doing too many leaves and stuff, so maybe for the extra day, make it for lunch for a couple of days, and
No,
you can just pack it away
definitely.
into little Tupperwares and eat it
And
up.
that's such a useful tip, especially if you are expecting. You might, be doing a whole lot of other things. So to make extra and take it for leftovers is a great.
Exactly,
idea.
totally. It's such an honor to have you with us in the loft today.
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you
sharing
so
all your
much.
knowledge with us. And this dish looks amazing. It looks like
Great.
it's simple to put together. I might even eat it, and I'm not even pregnant. Now, after the break, we're chatting to psychologist Linda Lewis about postnatal depression. So if you have any questions for her or any of our other guests, then make sure you leave your comments on our Facebook page. And so stay right where you are.
Salati Plantation Select adds subtle sweetness to toffees, caramel, bran muffins, or sprinkled into a spicy curry. Salati, always good, always sweet.
Welcome back. Lovely to have you back with us this afternoon Express Live on SABC3. Now, many women feel a bit down, tearful, or anxious in the first week after giving birth. This is often called the baby blues and is so common that it's considered normal. If the symptoms last longer or start later, it could potentially be postnatal depression, which can start at any time in the first year after giving birth. It's a very common problem and occurs in as much as 1 in 3 women who gave birth. Luckily, it can be overcome. We're joined by a research psychologist specializing in PND, Linda Lewis. Welcome to the loft, Linda.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, awesome. Linda, on your cover, you refer to postnatal depression as postnatal distress, as opposed to depression, which is commonly known as. Why is that?
Well, so many women actually don't present with depression. What they feel is anxious. And that anxiety can range from mild adjustment difficulties, because giving birth is one of the biggest life-changing experiences.
Of course.
So every mother has to adjust. It's how hard is that adjustment? So for some, it comes quite smoothly. For others, it's very hard.
Right.
And they can get anxious or depressed. So to call it just depression is really limiting it. It's also pathologizing it. It's making it sound like you're sick.
Okay.
As opposed to saying that you're feeling just not like yourself. It's not about giving it a label that women tend to feel ashamed of.
Right, right. You've also had your own experiences with PND. How did it manifest itself in your situation?
Well, I had never experienced anxiety in my life. I didn't know what anxiety was.
Wow.
Until the night after I gave birth. Most unexpectedly.
And what did you think? Were you like, what is this? What's going on?
The thing is that I had no idea. I thought every mother feels this, and this is what mothers need to know.
Right.
Is that if you are not feeling like yourself, the self that you know, of course there's huge change. Of course you're going to be exhausted. But if you're not feeling like the self you know, then there's something that may be going on.
Wow.
And my initial symptom was absolutely unable to sleep, completely awake for days on end.
And obviously you were exhausted.
Exhausted, but you see, the thing is, all mothers are exhausted.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you have to look for is whether a mother can sleep when her baby's sleeping.
Oh, wow.
If you can't sleep when your baby's sleeping because you're too agitated or anxious, then there may be a problem.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, you've been working with women who struggle with PND for over 18 years now. What are some of the characteristics of is there a certain type of woman who has a bigger propensity towards PND?
That's a very good question, because there is, and that is high achieving type A personalities.
wow.
So actually what you tend to see is lawyers, doctors, people, business people who are used to being in control and managing their lives, you know, from this time to this time, and there's a goal-oriented people. So
Right.
they can start with an aim and they can end once they've completed their goal. That isn't what it's like when you have a baby.
Yeah, because you have no control.
No control.
Yeah.
It's like a hand grenade thrown into your life.
Sure.
You don't know when you're going to sleep. You don't know if your baby's going to cry. Whatever it is, there is no control.
Wow.
So for women who are used to living in control, this is...
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare for perfectionists.
So how does PND affect the partner of a woman who's going through it and baby?
Yeah, it's very hard on the partners. It really is. They do get it in the neck with a lot of anger, and they never seem to get anything right. Whatever they try and do, please will you bath the baby, then mom is standing behind him saying, no, you're not doing it right, you're not doing right.
Sure.
But the important thing is not to facilitate your partner's incompetence. If you're going to let them bath the baby, walk away. Have time out from that.
Yes.
And let him work it out in the same way as you had to work it out.
Wow.
But so often, men are the ones who are the punching bag
Yes,
for
they
women.
get the brunt of it.
But they are also the most important people in terms of diagnosing
Right,
TND.
right.
They are the ones who have to pick up on the symptoms and face the reality that maybe their partner is not doing so well.
And importantly, how does postnatal depression affect the relationship and the communication between mom and baby?
Well, the difficulty is that when mom is shut down somewhat, there's a dissociation with the baby.
Wow.
So very often there is such difficulty engaging with your baby. So in previous times, we used to hear that the mother is the most significant person in a baby's life.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a father. There can be a grandmother. There can be somebody who's helping you.
Yes.
So not to take on all the pressure that you are it and
Yes.
you are the only one who can sustain this baby.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yes, it does impact on the
Yeah.
baby, but then you have to let in all the support possible.
Yes. And in the process of a mother getting help for postnatal depression, what's the first step?
Get it assessed. Come and have an assessment and see if this is something that is slightly out of the range of normal.
Right, right.
Maybe it's just difficult adjustment, in which case you need support for that. But if it's more than that, and it's after about 2 weeks, if those baby
If it
blues, as you were
persists,
saying,
yes.
persists, then an alarm bell must start going.
Right.
Have it assessed. You've got nothing to lose.
To lose, yeah.
Yeah.
Got everything to gain.
Absolutely.
And tools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Linda. That was very insightful. Now, if you want to learn more about postnatal depression or need support, then you can call the Postnatal Support Association on 082-882-0072, and all of the information can be found on our website as well. Today, we're also giving away a copy of Linda's book on the subject called When Your Blessings Don't Count. All you have to do is SMS the keyword Express, your name and city to 33728 to stand a chance. SMSs cost R1.50, T's and C's apply, and are available on afternoonexpress.co.za. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Express yourself.
Fresh Pack. Goodness comes naturally. Five Roses blends only the top 2 leaves of the finest Ceylon teas. Because nobody makes better tea than you and Five Roses.
Express yourself.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, all this talk of babies today on the show, and I'm not even married yet. Not even close. But if you are working towards getting married, then make sure you catch Espresso tomorrow morning when their team explore the wonderful world of wedding decor and capture every magical moment with a wedding photo booth. The resident quirky DIY princess, Zoe Brown, adds to this latest craze by creating a simple yet stylish photo booth background. So be sure to tune in tomorrow morning for all the tips and tricks.
I feel like poor women in South Africa are going like, there's too much to remember. You ladies have overwhelmed us. I feel like as a husband now, no wonder you guys are all grumpy. There's so much to deal with when you guys are
Listen,
pregnant.
you
My
even
word.
got broody on the show today.
you
Let's
did,
not
you did.
even joke.
Do you know
That's
what,
true.
ladies? We have a lot of male faithfuls who watch the show. And one question that we haven't asked is how can men in general be more supportive towards women who are pregnant, mummy who's just had a baby?
Where's my notebook?
Question.
Yeah. Are you write it down.
And new millennial dads are just amazing. They do. They muck
are.
in. I mean, many of them are taking paternity leave. They change the nappies. They're completely involved. So, I don't know. I think the important thing is how do moms allow their husbands to be more involved? Because very often, I mean, Linda, you actually spoke about it. The mom stands in the background going, oh, you're not putting that on right. You're not doing it right. So actually, if you want the help, don't criticize.
Just let him be.
Also, ask, if you want to know what your wife needs, ask her.
Yeah.
What are you needing? Don't think that you know what she should be needing. Just ask her.
Yeah.
What are
Janela,
you
come be a good man and dish up for us.
Oh, listen to the conversation.
We have a question from Tanya Janine Bezadenhout, and she says, hi, I love the show. Thank you very much. I have a 9-month-old baby who's teething. He's very fussy and refuses to eat any solids. Please help. How can I get him to eat? He just spits everything out. Thinks it's a game. Pulls his head away and makes bubbles with the food. What can I do?
That sounds happy to me.
He sounds fine.
No, it's
Teasing.
Yes, I mean, that's very common. When babies teeth,
Sorry,
they
I'm
go...
terribly like
No, that looks
cutting
good. When babies teeth, they go off their food. And what I would actually do if I were her is just relax. Don't force feed. Don't get hysterical about it. And don't supplement with too much milk, because what happens is after 6 months of age, you need to prioritize the solids. And if you start to think, oh, he's not eating, I'll give extra bottles or extra feeds, then you end up with a cycle where that appetite doesn't come back. But he'll be fine. His appetite will come back as soon as he stops teething.
All right. More from our social media. Elsa says, hi, I'm pregnant with my 3rd baby and I had postnatal depression with both my boys as they went into fetal distress and their hearts even stopped. I'm going to have my 3rd C-section and I'm so afraid of having postnatal depression again. Is there any way one can prevent it?
Well, Elsa, it's really important for her to put in place support structures before she has her baby. So that is finding somebody who she can talk to, who will not judge her, a therapist who's trained in the area of PND. Looking at medication, that is really important. And there's a myth that you can't take meds during pregnancy. Not true. There are some that you can take. And to put that in place before the baby is born.
But you've got to be certain, though, that there are meds that you can take while
Absolutely. You've
pregnant,
got to
because
go to
there is a big
psychiatrist.
difference.
You don't go to a GP for that.
Okay.
Yeah. And also to organise help for herself.
Yeah.
So someone's got to be the captain of the ship, watching her, because the risk after 2 times of having it is slightly high.
Yeah.
But there is no reason why it shouldn't be nipped in the bud.
Exactly. And Shame, that comment was from Samiga. We just had a gremlin in our system, so sorry about that, Samiga.
So that
and
was
Elsa.
your answer, Samiga.
There you go. Shame, man. Okay.
Now I can dish up. Thank
Now you can get started. Here you go. I'm holding it for you. This looks
So
absolutely
make sure you join
amazing.
us again tomorrow for Afternoon Express and tune in early, because during the first 15 minutes of the show, we're joined by media personality and actress Minnie Dlamini, and in the kitchen, we're making peri-peri pork ribs with buttermilk dressed slaw. Can't wait.
Oh, amazing. This looks phenomenal. How good does this? Janela, you are going to make a very good husband.
We're going to
I really hope so. Thanks.
We've got to have a win Danilo as a husband
Yeah,
competition.
we've definitely the stamps of approvals. But thank you so much for coming through, and thank you so much for watching. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful evening. Good night, God bless, and happy eating. Mwah. Ciao. Bye.
Coming up tomorrow on Afternoon Express, media personality and actress Minnie Dlamini joins us in the loft, and we look at the creations of fashion designer Jacques Lecrancy.
Another feel-good production.
Hi, YouTubers. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to us. Join the Afternoon Express family by subscribing to our channel right here. And we'll keep you up to date with all our recipes and, of course, our fabulous episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment and share this video. We do love it when you express yourself.